Today we're going to talk about our desire for cutting dies. Well, actually, it's our desire for cutting dies. That's from Crafter's Companion. I just couldn't resist.
These are wonderful cutting dies that have really intricate cutting areas and also great embossing areas.
They do, and they're called Create a Card cutting dies, and they're wonderful. Come play with us. Well, this is what they look like, and you can see that some have pink, and not actually the dies, this is just the artwork, and some are looking kind of Christmassy.
Right, so the pink ones tell you that these are more for every day, and these are intended for Christmas
but we don't believe it.
But we don't believe it because this one, which is called Christmas Present, really can be used for every day. The same with the stars.
I think we're going to change the name of that to just presents. And
so we'll get into each one individually and show you why.
Okay, and let's bring these.
Okay, and here's the first one. The cutting dies, so here is the photo on the front, shows you what it's going to look like. That green piece in the middle tells you that this part will get cut away. Wherever you see the white, that tells you all of that will be cut.
Right.
And wherever you see the orange, that tells you this will be embossed, especially if you use an embossing pad. And here's the actual cutting die on the back, and it's very large. It's a 6-inch by 6-inch cutting die.
And a little bit about that measurement is that it's 6 inches from the metal to the metal, but it doesn't cut around the outside edge, and that's done purposefully.
Right, so that you can put it on something and it won't cut out. It'll just cut out all of these bits in the middle.
The
that
design.
You see. Actually, and not these. I pointed to the wrong things. The only areas that it will cut out are where you see a raised edge, like here, and tiny little holes here and here. And then where you see the cut holes entirely without the raised edge, that's the embossing area.
Okay, well, let's get to a project.
Okay.
So this is the starry, what is
Softly Falling.
Thank you, Softly Falling. And you can see that, I guess we're going to have to get a little bit closer. You can see that raised area.
A little bit here.
A little bit, but it's not really a whole lot.
It's not as prominent here because in order to get it to raise the way you want it to, you have to use something called an embossing mat.
Right, it's a black thing, and it's soft and
silicone rubber.
Right,
yeah.
And it's going to push the paper up into the cutting die.
Right.
And let's just go ahead and look at this one. So here it is. There's been some inking on the top of the silver paper, and like you said, we can see a little of the embossed.
Right. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing those cutout areas are here. Those are the areas that get cut out, but then the orange is the embossed area.
Right. And on the inside, this is the center circle that you were talking about.
So that cuts out separately, and then that goes on the center. So here, this is the actual size here of that piece. So you're not seeing a lot of embossing with this card. You're seeing a little, but because this was used without the mat,
and then here it is used with the mat. Now,
with that texture mat and embossing mat, and that really makes all of those embossed areas stand out, and they just pop.
How gorgeous is that?
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that this was done on the silver hammered paper.
Right. It looks like this.
Right.
So it already has some texture.
So you're seeing a lot of texture in between that the cutting die doesn't supply, but you do see all of that detail, even around all of those small cut areas. I love that the centerpiece was actually, it gets cut out, and then with the circles and scallops cutting die,
you can, do you like that?
That's great. You can mat it on iris suede, and that gets that popped up edge that you see there.
As a matter of fact, the iris suede and the powder blue suede is what's been used to back these.
Now this is a really large card too. This was full use of that cutting die and then just expanded out to get this beautiful presentation piece, really.
This is an 8-inch card. So in order to do that, Hunky Dory has supplied us with 8-inch cards. So that's good.
I will note that this was not cut out with the die. So the edges here, the die will not cut the edges. You're going to go ahead and cut the paper to the size that you want and then emboss it. I also would like to show you how the correct way to use that embossing mat. So if you could grab the embossing mat. I have one of the dies here. We haven't really talked about this die yet, but this is one of them. And so you have your 2 cutting plates. So when you make normally you would make a sandwich between your cutting plates with the cutting die, and I've got the cutting edges up, and then I've got cardstock that I place on there, and then I'll just set that on top. And then I would place that on my platform and run it through the machine just like that. Well, you can do that with this, and in fact, these really are a 2-step process. You want to run that through and cut it, then you want to add the embossing mat on top. Texture mat on top of that. And it's a good idea to tape the die maybe just on the edges to the paper so it doesn't shift. You place that on and then you run it through a second time. We found that's the best way to first cut it so you really get all of those areas cut out and then emboss it. So then when you open it up, you've got that great embossed effect as well.
And just to give you an image, the texture embossing mat comes from Sizzix in Ellison, and it's designed to do this, exactly to do this.
It's made just for this. You can use it to get nice deep embossing in lots of other areas.
Okay, so
we've got another card.
We've got another card.
Right here.
And this is, well, this is using the Enchanted, and so this is labeled to be an everyday. And it is quite lovely.
It's just gorgeous. It's got that area that's cut out in the center. Now, you're seeing part of it covered up with this flower, but the area that's cut out is a complete oval with more artwork on it. In fact, there's one sitting over there, all the way over there.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, the piece that was cut out of this is right there.
How pretty.
Isn't that beautiful?
And so this was inked or chalked, as you said, either way. You gonna show that?
Well, I can show you how easy it is to do that, sure. So I've got one that was run through. It was cut first and then it was run through again with the embossing mat. So you get that nice raised edge all over. I've got a fluid chalk ink pad here, and I've got one of our ink blending tools here. You just pick up some of that. I'm gonna test it up here, make sure I actually have something. Yeah. And then I just try to stay on the top of that emboss by not pushing too hard. I just want to get the raised surface. Yeah.
Just that easy.
So just, you can go around and just get the top of it.
And actually, I love the soft look that you're getting, and that's exactly what Susan got on her card.
It sort of gives it a shadow. It'll pick up a little more on the edges and gives it a real kind of a depth effect.
So you should probably do that on a craft sheet, huh?
Oh, did I get it on it?
No, I'm covering it up.
Possibly.
And I thought it was really clever that, I mean, it's beautiful by itself, but adding these die cuts is just lovely.
That was wonderful, just having a little floral border down there with die cuts. And these are the cutout areas, the areas that are cut out so you can see through to that dark paper behind.
And then some more on the inside, so just letting that back and then
simple card.
Use that elsewhere because it's pretty.
There you go. You can put that on a tag or make it into a tag.
Now we did Enchanted. This is Decadence.
So it's got that, it's the same effect, but this one is a large square with a smaller square on the inside.
And here is what Gail did, and I love taking that center and turning it on point.
Right.
But this also has the advantage of being an easel card.
Right, so I did this twice. I did the front and I did the inside. This part, I left that inner part sitting there as well. And I backed the pieces, this was cut down to fit, you know, just on the bottom here. But I backed the pieces with suede. And this one has tan suede and mocha suede, so it really helps those images to pop.
So just to see the tan and mocha. So I like the combination of the blues and the browns that we're seeing.
And I love how much of that embossing comes out. I mean, it's such detailed embossing. I mean, you've got these beautiful cutout areas, but all those tiny little dots, and all you have to do is just apply a little ink to that
How
to get those
easy.
to stand out.
So
Yeah.
run it through twice, put some ink, and you're done.
Right.
And then as we were in close, I noticed you did some stamping. Looks like the unforgettable
Right.
stamp.
So just a couple of different fluid chalk colors of stamping there, and that's one of the messages with the stamp set.
So this is up on foam tape, and then some petaloo flowers and flower in the corner.
Right.
And then this I don't think I've seen before, of having that part that's foam taped raised up on the outside
the
instead of in the
outside.
center.
It's sort of, yeah, I just thought it's nice. I didn't want to detract
Yeah.
from the center of that one, just lining up, so sometimes you have to do
Yeah.
something a little unexpected.
Very nice. And this is also another way that you can use this larger one, having the front. You can see the front piece is bigger than the inside of the card, so that lets you use a standard size card. So that works beautifully.
It's just a beautiful cutting die.
Now we're going to go to Oh Christmas Tree.
Right.
And this technique is so clever. So here we have the front that's been cut out and embossed. And as we get in closer, I just really want you to be able to see the deeply embossed. Just so pretty.
And this one wasn't inked to make it stand out. It was just left alone. This was actually done on a watercolor paper, so it has some texture as well. And it's just beautiful. Just you can still see the embossing, and it's really elegant.
You know, that's funny. I would not have thought, I would have thought to stay away from watercolor paper because it's thicker.
Right.
And it seems like it would be harder to push it into the texture.
Well, it works. You know,
It works.
if you felt that you were having trouble getting the embossed, I would even, with any paper, including watercolor paper, I might put like a light misting of water on it.
Oh, good
I'll do
idea.
that when trying to
Good
emboss
idea.
with an embossing folder, so that would work with that as well.
Now this, as you can probably tell because I'm wiggling it, becomes a gatefold.
Just cut it in the center.
Right. Now,
Oh, this is great.
this is using vellum. This is a vellum sheet or pad
Right.
that has pearl and kind of
Has
parchment. Right.
marbleized. I
And
love the gold, and also has
Right.
kind of a silvery almost, I think, in there somewhere.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
beautiful.
that's what was used not only on the inside, so you can see all that embossing, but that tree was done on the white a second time.
Right. So then it was, I think it was,
it's the one that's on the inside.
from
You're
the
right.
front. So
Gotcha.
take this piece and
Just
put
one
it on
time.
the inside. And I love the banner going across here. That's from a layered ribbon banner template.
Easy ribbon
Easy,
banners,
because
right.
it is easy. So
And-
they're just stacked on top here, and it's just beautiful.
And the dazzles are added, and then this is also the diamond stickles.
Right.
That's a little chunkier.
Diamond stickles and the little
red.
gold and red stickles there as well.
Yeah, so so even though you're getting this gorgeous kind of centerpiece with these cutting dies, you can cut them in half. So that's a nice technique to remember.
Right.
Now we're going to go to extravagance. Don't you think it's time?
It looks pretty extravagant. And remember the size of it. It's this big. I just kind of like looking at the dies sometimes. There's so much going on there.
And I think the artwork tends to be like 5 7/8 or 5 3/4, kind of depends
Right.
on the art. So look at this. Now this has been done on the suede paper, and this is obviously the purple.
And it's also got the hammered gold, which we saw earlier, back behind here.
Okay.
And I love the little gold accents, and that was done with gold smooch.
With gold smooch.
Actually,
so just
gold lame smooch.
Oh, well, of course. So what you're doing with this
That's
one
a
hasn't
brand
been
new
opened. There is a needle nose point that just makes it easy to
Right,
draw.
it's like a foam tip, but it's kind of pliable, and it's super pointy, very easy to detail. And so that was done on the top of those embossed areas.
Right, those raised areas, and then also a little bit on the swirls that are there. So beautiful. And the dazzle, of course, we have to mention that. That is the butterfly dazzle. So not only are you going to get the butterfly and
the
work,
wish on
but
the inside.
on the inside you also get the banner and the other butterfly. So just beautifully done.
There's so many different ways to use these already. We must not have any more different ways to use these by now.
Not true. Now, this is the one that they have labeled Christmas present, but they were wrong. It should have been labeled present.
Present.
And
that's for any present. And look, it's a completely different idea here of using it.
Right. So this has been done on black cardstock, and the color that you're seeing is with perfect pearls.
Right. And
How
perfect
pretty.
pearls. Isn't that beautiful? Perfect pearls come in a set like this. You'll get this, you'll get a little, I didn't grab it, but you'll get a small ink pad of the perfect medium.
Right.
And you just take the perfect medium and apply it to those raised areas. And then you get paintbrushes with the set also to brush on the perfect pearls and brush off the excess.
And I really like the idea on cards of getting a photograph. So if you can, how perfect that is and how personalized it is.
Right.
Those are gold jewel dazzles. You're seeing those circles.
And the centerpiece was actually popped up on foam tape to stand up just a little bit, raised up.
There you go. And on the inside, just to create big happy 50th anniversary. So beautifully done.
We have effect. Now see, that's not Christmassy. You can use it anytime.
That's right. We are renaming it. And Sarah Davies, sweetie, we're going to rename yours, and it's okay. Okay, here is the last one that we're showing, but not the last one that's available.
It's called Starry Night,
Right.
also in the Christmas packaging, but as you can see, it can be used in other ways.
And we're going to ignore that packaging. And so here we have it all shiny and bright using the red fireworks and
the green circles, holographic papers.
So using that, but this is on rock on paper, so you can see it's all bright and fun.
Right, and it's a very large card. I want to point out that the center of the die was used here. The background of the die was used on this paper, but also tiny little stars were saved from the cutouts and are embellishing the edges here.
But are you sitting down? Well, of course you are, because I'm going to open this up, and it's really gorgeous. Look at that.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
That is just wonderful.
It sparkles and shines, and
so
it's just gorgeous.
You're going to do your embossing. In fact, look, isn't that pretty? Now, this was probably sanded, don't you think?
Right, it was sanded. But first of all, it was done on one piece. I don't know how far out we can get. So this, all of the red that you're seeing is just scored and folded right here. And there's another scored and fold line here and there. So it's about maybe 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, it actually is over here. I can kind of feel it under the paper. It extends
underneath the paper here, and check the gallery for the dimensions. So the center of the piece was cut and embossed, and then it was sanded, and then it was scored and folded to create this window.
So this center is obviously a mountain fold. The other two sides are valley folds, and they're going to get glued. Now this, and then covered up with papers. The inside, you'll want to decorate the inside before you put this piece on.
Right.
And one of the stars was used back there, and some happy birthday dazzles. But isn't that just great fun?
That is great fun. It's
lots of variety, which is what I really appreciate. So even though we're renaming them, we do think they're really kind of wonderful, whether they say every day or Christmas, and we ignore the fact that that's what they say. But the thing that really helps is this texture mat, this texture embossing mat.
If you want to get that great embossed look, you're going to use the mat. And you might have to experiment with cardstock in your machine to get just the right pressure
to make that sandwich.
To make it work just the way you want it to work.
But the thing that you're going to have is some absolutely wonderful looks when you're all done.
Stunning,
yes.
stunning cards.